Hi ladies and gentlemen. So tonight I'm going to be teaching you the body parts in Spanish. I did this video so long ago for my English learners who speak Spanish, and I had a lot of fun with it. I actually had so much fun with it that I think I'm going to devote this channel to English and Spanish instruction, okay? I know a lot of you are probably going to be happy about that. Some of you are going to miss the lifestyle kind of content. I just think the internet is very oversaturated with lifestyle content, like the frivolous videos I see popping up on like my suggested, my For You page on Instagram. It's just, there's nothing wrong with it. I like to consume it, I like to create it. I'm gonna take that type of content over to Patreon and my little platform. Let's get into it. I'm so excited because I love to teach Spanish and English. I think I'm good at it, and I want to be the one to introduce you to the parts of the body. So this is technically a beginner lesson. Let's get started. And I suggest that you take notes. I highly encourage you to take notes because actually writing it down with a pen and paper, not just typing it will embed the information into your mind a lot more efficiently, you know? So let's get right into it. I am tired as hell, y'all. I would just draw a body. Such a great artist. And I'm going to make it a woman's body just so that we can talk about breasts and how to say that. Hair bigger than her, and she will of course have a face. There we go. So I always like to start my lessons off, as many of you who have watched my first Spanish lesson know, I always emphasize the syllables. The vowel sounds are crucial to master in Spanish because I think that they're really one of the simplest concepts, okay, that you're gonna face when learning Spanish, because these vowel sounds are all consistent. So when you see an A in Spanish, it will always be pronounced A. When you see an E, it will always be E. I will always be E. O, and you got it, U. So A, E, I, O, U. Consistently the same no matter the word that you see. Now, you will sometimes see this. This will technically convert that U into a W, okay? But you will, it's not like in English where you don't have any hints, right? In Spanish, I think it's a lot easier to read. It's a lot easier to pronounce because you do get these hints here with these accent marks. Tilde. That's a tilde. And you always know that the vowels are going to be the same. It's not like in English where this sound could be A or A or A and so on. I mean, there are just so many different sounds that you can pull from these letters in English. Once you get that down, and listen, a lot of my students, they will come to me telling me about how they feel so dumb, and they're very discouraged because they just can't get the pronunciation down. And I'm here to tell you that yes, learning a new language, it does have a lot to do with memorization, but it also has to do with coordination. Okay, so when you're driving, when someone's driving in a car with you, and maybe you've been in cars with people who haven't been very bright, you know, very intelligent, but you still trust them and you still know that they're going to be able to get you where you need to go safely because they've had plenty of practice with hand-eye coordination. Hand-eye coordination. Now, what we need to develop when we're learning this language is, we'll call it tongue-eye coordination, or mouth-eye coordination, okay? Seeing one of these will prompt you to make a certain movement with your mouth, a certain movement with your tongue. So if you had difficulty in school learning a language, or even your native language, I knew some kids who, they were American, right? And here we speak English, and they had trouble in English class. And it's not because they were necessarily stupid, but they just didn't have a particular facility for learning a language in general. They were better at other things, so don't feel discouraged and just practice, you know, practice this mouth-eye or tongue-eye coordination. You see something and that gives you the cue, a, e, I, o, u, for any words. So let's practice that. First word that we'll start with is hair. I will write these in lowercase in English and capital letters in Spanish. So in accordance with what I taught you about the syllables. This one right here, cabello. Say it with me. Say all of these with me. Cabello, not to be confused with this word caballo, which means horse. Remember, it's the one with the E, okay? So this exclusively refers to hair on the head. Cabello. Me gustan las chicas con el cabello rubio. These are separate. So I like girls with blonde hair. Cabello. I like girls with blonde hair. Me gustan. I like the girls with the hair blonde, as a direct translation. And notice how with that word, when I pronounce it, the syllable sounds, they are completely consistent with what I taught you. A, E, I, O, U. So, Ka, A, B, E, cabello. Let's go with pelo. Pelo, you can use it for hair on the body, but I would say to be more specific, and the, I guess, more correct term is vello for body hair. But let's write down a sentence in Spanish. Afeítate los pelitos del pecho. Shave your little chest hair. You got it? Afeítate. So afeitar is to shave. Los pelitos. So when you say ito, when you add that to the end of a word, it's just making it a cutesy little word. It means little, or it's like an endearing suffix that that you can use for a lot of different words, okay? Of the, so del, it means of the, like, you know this artist? Lana del Rey. So del means of the, and then rey is king. I remember I called a guy that I was flirting with Rey, and he texted me back, who the fuck is Rey? Okay, so pecho, o, capiche, shave, and you see how this, if this letter, for example, was not there, that E, it would not transform this A sound to be a true English A sound, A shape. If we eliminate this, this would be pronounced shap. Spanish is simply not that arbitrary with the pronunciation, and that's why I keep emphasizing that the syllables are going to be the simplest issue that you will solve in the Spanish language. I don't say the easiest, I say the simplest. It's not complicated. It might take you a little while to get the pitch, right? Each of these letters down perfectly, but you'll get there, okay? You'll get there with me. A much more difficult and arbitrary concept, though, which will make up in difficulty for the easy pronunciation of the vowels, is womp, womp, womp. The pronouns. I know a lot of you are just sick and tired of the pronouns already. Everybody seems to have their own nowadays, but in Spanish, inanimate objects, okay? Just like people tried to transition into inanimate objects. Inanimate objects actually do have a gender in Spanish, okay? And you can get a clue with the last letter of the word. Usually if it's an A, it'll be like a feminine word, it'll have feminine pronouns. And then if it ends in an O, it will usually have a masculine pronoun. However, there's this word right here, mano, which means hand. And this is la mano, so it is feminine, even though it ends in O, okay? So all of these, cabello, pelo, and vello, they are all masculine. El cabello, el pelo, y el vello corporal. So body hair, we would say corporal. Vello corporal. And if we're gonna say me teñí el vello púbico. I dyed my pubic hair. So let's break it down. Me, teñí. So if this tilde wasn't there in this word, teñí, if we eliminated that, then that word could probably be pronounced teñi, with more emphasis here automatically because it's a shorter word. Oftentimes, the emphasis will be placed on the syllable that is closest to the first letter, if it's like a shorter word. Teñi. Do you notice the difference? Now, if we take away this, that word, it would be teni. This makes that nya, 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 nya. It's not as simple as nya, nya. But try it. Nya, nya, nya. Just the middle of your tongue. Nya, nya, nya. On the roof of your mouth. Got it. Okay. Let's continue. Me teñí el vello púbico. course results in a Y sound. Next up, we have la cara, el rostro. This is the face and also the face, but you notice how this one is feminine and then this one is masculine? As I mentioned, the A oftentimes will turn this into a feminine word, and the O oftentimes, but not always, will turn this into a masculine word. And just to show you how arbitrary this really is, here is a term in another Romance language, and this is les vagines, or la vagina, or the vagina. This is masculine. Isn't that crazy? That the vagina is masculine in French, but of course in Spanish it is feminine, and then in English it is neither masculine nor feminine because it is not a real woman or a man. Maybe some of you ladies might call your kitty your girl, you know, but it's not a girl, it's a thing. So we kind of use it as a joke, right, in English, when we assign a gender to nouns and things that do not actually have genitals, right? So an arm cannot have genitals, but it is masculine, right? We would say el brazo, el brazo. Face. We know this to be the forehead, and in Spanish this is la frente, so it is feminine, la frente, and this also means the front, al frente, that means in the front. So quisiera, I'm just coming up with these on the fly, by the way, salir con ese tipo, pero tiene la frente muy grande. So here, this is just one of the few instances, okay, when you will not pronounce this as u, so cui, you will not say that. Because why? Because this combination of letters is coming right after a Q, or it is coming right after a G. So in the name Guillermo, for example, which means William, this is the same name as William, Guillermo. You would omit that U sound. Instead of saying cui or gui, you would say gi or ki. So this being here eliminates this sound. Do you understand? I think that's a lot more common in English, you know, when the last letter, when the following letter of something kind of changes the pronunciation of an earlier syllable. But luckily it's more rare in Spanish. So I would like to go out with him, but he has a big forehead. Quisiera salir con ese tipo. I would like to go out with that type, but he has grande. Grande means large. Tiene la frente grande. You would not say tiene la grande frente. You would say la frente grande. which is the opposite of English. So this direct translation is the forehead big, or the forehead large. But in Spanish, we say the noun first and then the adjective. You can follow it up with, okay? For the most part, there are some sentences where you can change it, but it just wouldn't make sense in this particular sentence. I will not be sharing any slang terms for these parts of the body. I'm not gonna get nasty on this YouTube channel. This is a YouTube channel. And I remember on Patreon, I exploded. I got so upset one time because someone said something like, I did a kind of dirty body parts video, and someone told me that I should have just posted it to YouTube. Why was I posting this on the Patreon? It's not sexy. I'm not going to post a video talking about dick and pussy and how to say those words in another language on this YouTube channel. Anyway, las cejas. Te sobre maquillaste las cejas, limpiatelas. You put too much makeup on your eyebrows. Clean them off or wipe them off. Te sobre. Sobre is you overdid it. Sobró, cuando algo sobra, it means there's a lot left over. So te sobre maquillaste, this means you applied your makeup. Maquillar is to apply makeup. Maquillar. Remember this combination right after a Q or a G, it eliminates the U sound and you are just left with the E sound. Te sobre maquillaste las cejas, limpiatelas. Now sometimes you will hear with different accents, usually Uruguayan or Argentinian accents. They will pronounce this as a sh sound. But in Latin America and Spain, they usually pronounce this, most of Latin America, right? And Spain, they will pronounce this as a Y sound. So, maquillar, maquillar. And the J is always pronounced as an H. Cejas, cejas. The H, for the most part in Spanish, it's silent. Yeah, I think it's pretty much always silent. When you see an H, do not pronounce it as an H. Don't go, ah. Just do that when you see a G or a J. G can, the consonants, they are a little different to the vowels. Consonant sounds, they are a little more varied, but I'll guide you through them. Next up is the eyelids. Eyelids. Los párpados. Los párpados. Creo que tus párpados grandes te hacen lucir súper inocente. I think that, so yo creo, it means I believe or I think. Yo pienso is more similar to I think, but we're gonna put yo creo, I believe, that your eyelids are large, because remember, as I mentioned, the noun is coming before the adjective. Te is a little bit of a difficult word to directly translate, but it just talks about the listener. So the listener of this sentence, you know, if someone's telling another person, creo que tus párpados grandes te hacen hacen lucir súper inocente. If we remove this word, it does not create a relationship between the listener and the whole concept of the sentence, okay? So when we say te amo, I love you. But if we remove this here, then it would just be love. So do you see what this te does? It speaks about you in relationship to another person, or the other person, the listener of your sentence. It speaks about their relationship to the whole concept of the sentence that you're giving them. It's a little bit of a weird explanation I'm giving, but here is another similar one that you will see with the tilde. This just means tea. Creo que tus párpados grandes te hacen lucir súper inocente. That means I believe that your large eyelids make you look super innocent. Creo que tus párpados grandes te hacen, they make you. So hacer is to make. So if I'm saying that your large eyelids make you look innocent, I would say tus párpados grandes te hacen, they make you lucir super inocente. They make you look super innocent. Let's keep going. This is pestañas. Las pestañas. So eyelashes are feminine. The eyelashes. This can also mean tabs on a browser. So if you are trying to learn Spanish, go ahead and be serious about it. I dare you to change your phone to Spanish or your computer, and you will see that tabs are pestañas. So kind of like eyelashes on an eye. Each tab that you open in a browser es una pestaña. Tengo una cita para que me peguen pestañas postizas. I think this is with a Z. I have an appointment for that. They stick eyelashes fake. So I have an appointment. Una cita is an appointment. So very simple word. Cita is appointment. Cuando quieres sacar una cita, that means you are going to take out an appointment or make an appointment. But in Spanish, this is just the way that we say it. Sacar, take away an appointment. Next up is los ojos, the eyes. Quiero tener ojos azules. I want to have blue eyes. Break it down. We have los ojos. Same O always. Quiero tener, I want to is quiero. I want to have is tener. Tengo is I have. Yo tengo ojos, eyes, blue. So adjective and noun. Noun first, then adjective. Instead of saying azules ojos, blue eyes, let's say ojos azules or eyes blue. Quiero tener ojos azules, los ojos azules. And because we are talking about a pair of eyes, instead of just putting azul, which is the color blue, we would put azules because we are talking about a plural noun. We are talking about two eyes, a set of eyes. So we add that kind of plural suffix to the adjective. Do you like learning Spanish? I don't ever want you to feel discouraged because I have improved a lot with my Spanish, and the language is just so fast, just like English or any other language. It's so many words that you need to familiarize yourself with, and it's a lot of practice in creating sentences in your own mind before it just comes as second nature. So if you just got started, or even if you got started a few years ago, don't worry, because you probably haven't been surrounded by a lot of Spanish speakers. But you can choose to, on your spare time, you can listen to a lot of Spanish and you can practice it, okay? So practice, practice, practice. I promise it'll come quickly, okay? You'll be able to meet up with that Latina baddie or get that job interview, because it's a very valuable skill to learn, to have more than one language that you know, and maybe you know a second language, but it's not a very commonly spoken language, so it's not that valuable in the job market. I think Spanish, it's just going to help you communicate with billions of people. This right here is la mejilla and los cachetes. So this means the cheeks. Los cachetes, not butt cheeks. Butt cheeks is nalgas, but we're gonna go over that later. Los cachetes, we'll say me dio un beso en la mejilla y sentí que iba a vomitar. She gave me, or he gave me, a kiss on the cheek, and I felt like I was going to vomit. Él, so when you see él like this, it means he. Now if you see él, you are talking about an inanimate object. Got it? So él, he, gave me, so él me dio is gave. Un is one or a. So some learners of the Spanish language, they will say me dio uno beso. Try to get out of the habit of saying that. That is not correct. So un beso, $1, diamante. One kiss, $1, one diamond. Do not write uno, uno, uno. That does not make sense, okay? But for the rest of the numbers, you could say dos. So if I'm saying 2 kisses, you say dos besos, $2, dos diamantes. on the cheek, and E, it means and. Y sentí, so sentí. If we take this off, it could be sentí, sentí. But because this is here, it is sentí. So it gives you a really nice clue. I love tildes in Spanish. They just make reading Spanish a lot easier. And I find it easier actually to read Spanish than I do English, despite the fact that English is my first language. It's my native language. My parents, they are Cuban, and I speak Spanish quite well. I confuse some people. I think a lot of Spanish speakers cannot immediately tell that I am from the United States. I find it a lot easier to read in Spanish because, again, the vowel sounds, they are just very consistent, and then you get a lot of clues as to which letters to pronounce with emphasis. So there's this word, catastrophe. When I first saw it, I pronounced it like catastrophe, even though it's like a Greek root word, and it's catastrophe. But the rules for how words are pronounced in English, they are just a lot more arbitrary than Spanish. So practice this and read. And then the term, I guess, for cheek, we could say un cachetazo. Un cachetazo. This means a slap. Un cachetazo, a slap on the cheek. Next up, we will do la barbilla. La barbilla. The chin. La barbilla. Me quiero operar mi barbilla picuda. I want to get surgery on my pointy chin. So picuda or picudo, it means pointy. So pointy nose, pointy, picudo, picudo. Me qui, we take away this U sound. Quiero operar mi, so the E sound always like this. It will never sound like I or I. It will always sound like E, so mi, E, like this sound in English. Barbilla, barbilla, picuda, always U, always A. Are you still there? I think I ran out of stickers, so I'm just gonna draw a nice big juicy star on your forehead. I think you deserve it because you literally sound like you're from Spain. You sound like you speak this better than I do. I've been speaking it since I was in diapers. For real, for real. Okay, so stay still. I'm not drawing a pentagram. It looks like one, but it's a really cute star that you deserve. You are not only a great speaker of this language, and a great listener, and a great reader, I'm sure you'll be a great writer. You also behave really well. So let's move on. Almost done.